ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। सुमुखश्च एकदन्तश्च कपिलो गजकर्णकः लम्बोदरश्च विततो विघ्नराजो विनायकः धूमकेतुर्गणाध्यक्षः फालचन्द्रो गजाननः वक्रतुण्डः शूर्पकर्णो हेरम्बः स्कन्दपूर्वजः शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। यस्य विरजवक्त्राभ्याः पारिषद्याः परःसतं विघ्नं विघ्नन्ति सततं विश्वक्सेनं तमाश्रये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय कृष्णाय अक्लिष्टकारिणे नमो वेदान्तवेद्याय गुरवे बुद्धिसाक्षिणे कृष्णद्वैपायनं व्यासं सर्वभूतहिते रतं वेदाब्जभास्करं वन्दे समाधिनिलयं मुनिं जन्माद्यस्य यतः अन्वयात् इतरतश्च अर्थेषु अभिघ्नः तेने ब्रह्महृदायः आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत् सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र सर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोचितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सताम् वेद्यं वास्तवम् अत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम् श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृदि अवरुध्यते अत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिः तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिकाः भुवि भावुकाः यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतम् अपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरह कातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवः अभिनेधूतं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि यः स्वानुभावम् अखिलश्रुतिसारम् एकम् अध्यात्मदीपम् अतितितीर्षतां तमोन्धम संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुम् उपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। Now with Bhagavan's grace we will continue and partake a brief summary of Skandham 2. Yesterday, we reviewed summary of Dharana, the concentration, what to concentration on, the sthula form, the sukshma form, both the gross and the subtle that we saw. Now today, and also we took up the Sukha Stuti, the Sukha's prayer to the Almighty, that also we took up yesterday. And today we will take up the Bhagavata part, the concise Bhagavatam that was revealed to us in Brahma Narada conversation. That Brahma tells Narada, this is concise Bhagavatam as told to me, as taught to me by Bhagavan Sriman Narayana himself, Sri Hari himself taught me this. So that is what we will take up today. That is a Vishayam. Now the qualification for listening to that also we will cover very briefly. It is called Adhikaram. See, in every matter, in every teaching, there are three aspects. The Adhikari or Adhikaram. Adhikaram does not mean order, it means qualification, deservedness, and the readiness, so to speak, or deservedness rather. Then the Vishayam is the subject matter. And Prayojanam, what is the benefit, what is the goal, what is the objective of this? The Prayojanam is the more and more, as Adi Shankara says, the incomparable, the unequaled, no one equal to it, no one superior to it. To keep on repeatedly instructing and talking about it and discoursing on that and sharing the teachings about it repeatedly, okay, and again and again and again and again and again, will slowly, bend our mind toward that one entity with love. Okay, this is a continuing process. So the Vishayam, the subject matter is Bhagavata Tattvam, the Bhagavata path, and concise Bhagavatam, as it is also called. Now, let us start. The sage Sukha adjusted himself in a seat, and he began and continuing to talk to Parikshit, because Parikshit asks several questions. For example, he said, why did the attributeless Parabrahman, the formless, the immanence, everywhere it is present, the Nirgunam, transcendent, beyond everything else, right? Those are the characteristics you give it to it. Why did it assume form and attributes? That's his question. Tell me about it. So, the answer to that, Sukha began. He said, the Supreme Sovereign Lord manifesting himself as Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara through the prompting of the primal desire, which is a moham, right? Is engaged in creating, fostering and destroying the worlds. In what is thus created, there is always the principle of dualism. There is difference and disparity between one another. There's always a difference and disparity. But if these differences and disparities are harmonized wisely, the world will have happiness and peace. If, on the other hand, living beings behave wrongly, the world will be sunk into anxiety, misery, and confusion. When this arises, the Lord Bhagavan assumes forms and affords a necessary protection and correction. He sets right the damaged world, removes the evil forces that cause the damage, and instructs mankind in the science of fostering the right and the good. It is not possible to limit the freedom of God in assuming forms. He is eternally free, so he adopts endless forms to manifest himself in the world and serve it. His incarnation is in conformity with the need of the crisis at that time. When, for example, the earth moaned under the injustice of Hiranyaksha, he had to appear as a boar, the Varaha-avataram, taking the form and equipped with attributes through which, in essence, but in essence, he is actually without form and attribute. The will of God is mysterious. It cannot be explained by categories or as consequences. It is above and beyond human reasoning and imagination. It can be comprehended only by those who have known him and not by those who have acquired scholarship or sharp intellect. The cause and the consequence are integrally related. Then Sukha continues. He says, the forms are so mind-blowing that you cannot really begin to understand or comprehend it. That assumes various forms he has assumed and continues to do so beyond our ability to understand. Then he continues. He says, the teacher who instructs must gauge the qualification of the learner to receive the lesson. It will be a vain effort to try to communicate the highest knowledge to a person belonging to the lowest level, because he cannot comprehend it. So too, if the instructions that have to be given to the lower levels are given to those at higher levels, they will derive no satisfaction at all from the teaching. To make this clear, I will tell you about a discussion that took place between Brahma and Narada once. Listen carefully. Sukha began to narrate the story of Narada. Brahma once addressed Narada. He said, "Oh, my mind-projected son, my Manasika Putra, creation is my task, the way in which I fulfill my mission, my tapas. I will and the creation happens. And I lay down certain rules and modes for each species. And if they are properly adhered to, the wheel will turn all right in Dharma. But the modes and the rules are neglected, and they toil for their own wishes along crooked and misleading paths, then they will have to suffer various miseries. See, day and night are willed by me. The rulers of living beings are part of me. The urge that people have to increase and multiply is a reflection of my will. Sometimes, when the created world has to be sustained, I myself assume name and form and initiate the manmantaras and provide the earth with appropriate divine personalities and sages who set examples to be followed and indicate the path of progress. Now, I also end the unlimited increase of beings when it happens. For this, I take on the form of Rudra too. I create the bad in order to highlight and promote the good. I create the bad in order to highlight and promote the good. In order to protect the good, I set certain limits, both to the good and to the bad. Otherwise, they would stray into wrong ways and inflict great harm. Everything is within limits. I'm immanent in every being, but people forget me, who is within and without them. I am the inner core of every being, but they are not aware of this. So, they are tempted to believe the objective world to be real and true, and they pursue objective pleasures and fall into grief and pain. On the other hand, they concentrate all attention on me alone, believing that the Lord has willed everything and everyone. I bless them and reveal to them the truth that they are I and I am they. Thousands have been blessed like this. They are the seekers, the sadhakas, the aspirants, the mahatmas, the rishis, the divinely inspired people, and various avatars, the guides who show the path. They have acquired the experience that truth is dharma. Then Sukha continues. He said, I will tell you. But Sukha continues, the Brahma was telling Narada. Brahma is continuing. He says, I will tell you about some of them, those people who have attained the truth of dharma, who know, they experienced it. Sagara was there, Ikshvaku, Rachina Barhi, Rubhu, Dhruva, Raghu Magaraj, Yayati, Mandhata, Halarka, Satandhava, Dilipa, Kali, Bhishma, Sibi, Tupalada, Saraswata, Vibhishana, Hanuman, Muchukunda, Janaka, Satarupa, Prahlada, and many Rajarishi, Brahmarishi, princes and nobles who can be grouped under one category, the Bhagavatas. They all yearn for the chance to listen to the glories of God. They have all been blessed, irrespective of caste, age, status, or sex. They have among them women, Brahmins, Sudras, and Chandalas. I am the cause of all causes. I'm eternal. I am Sat Chit Ananda. I am Hari and Hara too. I transform myself into these manifestations as occasion arises. Creation, the universe, is but the projection of my will. It has no basic reality. My son, I declare this truth to you as a result of my deep love towards you. Others will not be able to grasp the mystery of this creation. What I have just revealed to you is known as concise Bhagavata. It's what Brahma taught Narada. Then he continues. He says, Bhagavata connotes three sections of knowledge. Number one, the glory and majesty of the Avataranga. Number two, the names of those who are fully devoted to Bhagavan, the Bhaktas. Number three, the intimate relationship between Bhagavan and the Bhagavatas. So the stories and the glories of the Avatarams, stories of the Bhaktas, and the intimate relationship between the Bhakta and Bhagavan. Where these three are found together, there we have the Bhagavata. All that is visible is not beyond or outside God. Therefore, to put it succinctly, everything is Bhagavata. Everything is worthy of being honored. So, now while Brahma was thus teaching Narada with great joy, Narada interrogated him in amazement and anxious yearning. He said, Swami, as directed by you, I'm engaged without intermission in singing the glory of Bhagavan and enabling the world to derive bliss therefrom. But this insidious and powerful Maya may overpower me at any moment, Swami, plunge me into wrong and create obstacles in the path of my mission. Is there any measure by which I can escape this calamity? Please instruct me in that and show me this additional sign of your parental affection. Brahma laughed at this question. He replied, Oh son, your words seem childish. The clouds of Maya cannot darken the inner consciousness of those who revel in the glory and majesty of Bhagavan, those who know and make known that Bhagavan is the master of Maya, the wielder of the operative forces that both delude and destroy delusion. Bhagavan's forces both delude and also destroy delusion. And those who are engaged in good deeds executed with faith and devotion, they cannot be swayed by Maya at all. And those who endeavor ever to maintain Satya and Dharma, they cannot be. Maya will have no hold over them. Therefore, son, move fearlessly all over the three worlds with the veena in your hand, singing in adoration of Bhagavan, listening to the recital and elaboration of the mystery of God and the godly, Bhagavan and the Bhaktas. The inhabitants of the world will save themselves from the cycle of birth and death. Karma, the activity and the result, the deeds resulting from therefrom, karma are binding because they have consequences that must be suffered and enjoyed. But deeds of service are free from this handicap. Be ever fixed in the thought of God. There is no other means than this to turn the mind away from the sensory pursuits and objective realities. So, this is the teaching of Brahma to Narada, the concise Bhagavata. Sukha continued. He said, O Parikshit, since the supreme wisdom cannot be communicated to all except those who have reached a high level of purity and understanding, Brahma taught only Narada. And Narada too continued, as advised, to sing and adore Bhagavan through his songs, the Lord who is immanent as well as transcendent. He did not ignore or discard the teachings that Brahma favored him with. O Parikshit, you too are qualified to receive the sacred lesson. That is the reason why I, who am inaccessible, has spontaneously come directly to you to describe to you the Bhagavata. I am no ordinary minstrel. I never approach a person who has not earned the right to listen to me. Imagine the height that Narada must have reached to acquire the qualification needed for instruction in the attributes of the attributeless God. Then, when Sukha was gravely assessing him this way, Parikshit said, "Oh, Swami, then if Brahma taught this to Narada, to whom did Narada narrate it, etc." And then the discussion between Sukha and Parikshit continues, and Sukha continues to answer his questions, and in that process he teaches him the Bhagavata Tattva, the Bhagavata, the Avatarangal of Bhagavan, three components of knowledge that talks about the glories of all the avatars, not all, but some of them, because Bhagavan's Avatarangal are innumerable, okay? Not limited to Dasavataram and all that. No. It is innumerable. And so he describes those Avatarangal, the glories, the stories of that. And he also describes the stories of the bhaktas on behalf of whom, in response to whose yearning the avataram manifested itself. And always manifests itself to the call of a bhakta. And then the third aspect is the relationship between that avataram and the bhakta, Bhagavan and the bhakta. That is what Sukha continued to elaborate and teach him. So this is concise Bhagavatam as taught by Brahma to Narada, and as Sukha taught Parikshit. And we will continue in 1 minute. Just hold on, please. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Now, so we will stop there today. I was trying to get something else, but we will stop there today. And then we will continue tomorrow with the concise summary of what is covered in Skandam 2. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti